we believe that the local church should be the safest place on the planet. And you being a part of this training is a part of us ensuring safety and well-being. The Wesleyan Methodist Church of Aotearoa, New Zealand is committed to providing safe environments for work, worship, and study that are free from harassment, bullying, and violence. Now, in this video, you're going to cover a range of topics. We're going to look at what harassment, bullying, vilification, and violence actually is. We're going to look at what it isn't, how to deal with complaints, and you'll be introduced to your Safe Church team. First, let's look at the definition of harassment. Harassment occurs when a person is subjected to behavior by another person or group of people that is either unreasonable, is unwelcome or offensive to the recipient, has a detrimental effect on their health and their safety, their employment, their job performance, or their job satisfaction. Sexual harassment, a specific aspect of harassment, is direct or indirect use of language, visual material, or physical sexual behavior that is unwelcome or offensive. Another form of harassment is racial harassment. Racial harassment is any use of language, visual material, or conduct that expresses hostility against or brings into contempt or ridicule another person by reason of their color, race, ethnic or national origins, and is hurtful and offensive. Bullying is a form of harassment and is behavior directed towards a person or group of people by another person or group of people that is repeated, that is unreasonable, and creates a risk to health and safety. A specific kind of bullying is cyberbullying, and this is a form of bullying conducted within or outside the church or workplace using digital technology like social media posts, text messaging platforms, emails, online forums. Again, it's behavior that is repeated, unreasonable, and creates a risk to health and safety. Vilification occurs when a person, by a public act, incites hatred towards or serious contempt for or serious ridicule of a person or groups of persons, whether or not on the basis of discrimination. It's important to understand what bullying is not. Bullying is not ministers taking reasonable steps to direct and control the operational requirements of a church, including but not limited to one-off or occasional instances of forgetfulness or even rudeness or tactlessness. Bullying is not occasional differences of opinion or conflicts and problems in working relationships. And bullying is not the issuing of a lawful instruction of the termination of employment. It's important that pastors and leaders are able to recognize harassment or bullying in their churches and workplaces. It's important because it helps them reflect on their own behavior, but also to be aware and alert to the behavior of others. Some examples of bullying and harassment include gossip, threats, accusations, rumors, or lies about another person, or cyberbullying through email, text messages, or social media, mimicking a person's accent, habits, or disability, or jokes based on gender, race, sexuality, pregnancy status, or disability. Sometimes public humiliation or insulting another person will be bullying and harassment, unwanted physical contact, or suggestive glances or dirty looks towards another person. Let's have a look at a case study so that you can apply some of what you've been learning. Meet John. John thinks he's being bullied at church. John is sure of it as he's done a bit of research. Now, the standard of John's voluntary work on projection has always been high. However, recently the tech coordinator has been constantly criticizing him or finding fault with what he does. Otherwise, John is ignored. Do you think John is being bullied? Take a few minutes to look back at some of the resources that have already been shared and work through the definitions. Do you think John is being bullied? Thanks for taking the time to reflect on the case study. If you answered yes, then you're correct. John is likely being bullied by the tech coordinator. The key factual issue here is that John's performance as a voluntary tech operator continues to be high. This ongoing behavior of criticism and belittling suggests that there is something else going on, and bullying is something that may need to be addressed here. Let's take a look at the definition of violence. Acts of violence in a church or workplace are illegal and can be referred to police. Charges can also be laid under criminal law. Examples of violence can be verbal, including abuse, threats, shouting, swearing, or physical, hitting, throwing objects, or damage to property. It's important to understand that any act of violence must be immediately reported to the National Safe Church officer. So, how do we go about dealing with a complaint? Step one, anyone can raise a complaint, be it with a church minister, pastor, or leader, or a regional safe church officer, or even the national safe church officer. It's important that all complaints are treated seriously, investigated fairly and promptly, are dealt with in an objective and reasonable manner, remain confidential between you, the person complaining, and the National Safe Church team. What do you do if you receive a complaint? There are three important steps. First, stop and listen. Second, take some time to inform. And third, connect the complainant with the appropriate next steps. Let's start with listening. Defining the seriousness of the behavior will help determine the response and approach for resolution. So, first, listen to the person complaining. Consider the definitions of bullying, harassment, and violence to help to define the behavior you are hearing about. Take some time to consider whether the behavior is unreasonable, repeated, and a risk to health. Don't ask or influence the person complaining. Then, advise the National Safe Church officer to determine the appropriate response. Our second step is to inform. There are two approaches when managing the complaint: informal or formal. An informal approach may be appropriate where the complaint is considered to be at the least serious level. The person complaining may request an informal approach, and this can include self-help, mediation, or informal intervention. It's important that the National Safe Church officer has been notified as part of determining the response. The formal approach, on the other hand, is where the complaint is considered to be serious, or when the person complaining has requested a formal approach. Again, the National Safe Church officer will be notified and will take appropriate action with the support of the National Safe Church oversight team. Let's have a look at another case study. Meet Mele. Mele sees you after worship and explains someone at church is gossiping and spreading rumors about her. Mele found out through a friend and is crying and is very upset. What should you do? Option A, confront the other person, accusing them of bullying Mele. B, don't get involved. Or C, listen, inform, and connect. Follow Mele's lead with the approach and make sure to notify the National Safe Church officer. The answer is C. Mele is being bullied. Our approach of listening and informing is followed by connecting. Follow Mele's lead with the approach and notify the National Safe Church officer. Remember, bullying is a form of harassment and it's behavior directed towards a person or group of people by another person or group of people that is repeated, unreasonable, and risks health and safety. Remember that some people find particular types of behavior offensive, while others may not. Always follow the lead of the person complaining as to whether they prefer an informal or formal approach to the complaint, and be careful not to influence their decision. Our National Safe Church officer is Melwyn Lecomte. You can contact Melwyn in the first instance for questions, advice, and support whenever you are dealing with a potential case of harassment, bullying, or violence. You can contact Melwyn at the email address there on your screen or by phone. The National Safe Church Oversight Team works alongside the National Safe Church Officer. The National Safe Church Oversight Team is Reverend Brett Jones, National Superintendent, our Director of Operations, Reverend Peter Benzie, and Reverend Melissa Powell, our Director of Ministerial Formation. Thanks so much for completing this training and for making a commitment to help us create safe environments for work, worship, and study that are free from harassment, bullying, and violence. Your next step is to complete the Safe Church Competency Assessment. You must successfully complete the Safe Church Competency Assessment to comply with national church requirements for ministers and pastors. If you have any questions, please contact Melwyn Lecomte, our National Safe Church Officer, at her email safe@wesleyan.nz.